This is Dr. Lisa Marie Bobby, and you're listening to the Love, Happiness, and Success podcast.
I saw your face, I am unrecognizable. Beating my breast to release the power from the falls. Let's go out and see something
That's Jane Weaver with Modern Cosmology. Awesome song about the magic in the world, the magic in our lives. And I thought it was appropriate today because if you're like a lot of people, I'm recording this right at the new year, and you're probably feeling hopeful that you can make some magic happen in your life this year in the form of some of the goals or aspirations or things that you want to accomplish. And so that's what we're doing on today's episode of the Love, Happiness, and Success podcast. I'm here to give you some help with that, a little leg up, because, I've been working as a therapist and a life coach for a long time. And I have learned over the years that it's really quite easy for people to unknowingly, unconsciously sabotage their success when it comes to achieving goals. There are simply things that they don't even know they don't know that are getting in their way, and it will mess them up every single time. And I want you to have better results. So that's where we're going today on the show. So before we dive into this, first of all, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. I'm so glad that you found us. I'm Dr. Lisa Marie Bobby. I'm the founder and clinical director of Growing Self-Counseling and Coaching. We're based in Denver, Colorado, but we have offices opening up in other parts of the country, which is extremely exciting. And we also see clients all over the world through online video counseling and coaching. We do specialize in three things. We specialize in love, happiness, and success. Love through relationship coaching, marriage counseling, premarital counseling, dating coaching. We help people feel happier through effective therapy. We use only evidence-based forms of therapy. We're not going to waste anybody's time and make you hang out for 10 years talking about everything. We use strategies that help you get results and, accomplish things, make the improvements that you want to. And in addition to providing therapy, we also do a lot of life coaching, which I think is such a wonderful alternative for many people who maybe don't need therapy. Therapy is traditionally a treatment for mental illness, and there are so many people who are not mentally ill and yet want to make improvements in their lives, feel happier, achieve the things they want to achieve, and need to do a little bit of, growth work in order to get themselves on track and going in the right direction. So we also specialize in that. And then lastly, I like to say we specialize in success because over the years, we have begun to do quite a bit of career coaching and executive coaching, really helping people who want to make traction either in their existing careers, wanting to achieve at a higher level, start a business, feel like they're getting somewhere, or performing at a higher level. We work with a lot of high achieving professionals who, seem very successful outwardly, but inwardly, sometimes they feel like they're struggling just to kind of keep track of everything or really just function at the level that they need to be functioning at in order to be fulfilling their obligations and also enjoying themselves, So we also do that. And then as well as, career counseling around what do I want to do with my life kinds of things, identifying what is that beautiful intersection of the things that you're good at, your talents, and also your interests, the things that you feel passionate about, and also what the world needs from you. What is valuable to the market, and how can you transform your gifts and your interest into something that can you can earn a living at. So those are the things that we do in my practice. And so that's, my background. And what I'm doing here in this podcast is, throwing these little bottles in the ocean out for you guys, just assuming, most people don't come for private counseling and coaching because it's a luxury for a lot of people. And, it can feel hard, something to get involved in. But I've also learned that there are so many people who can benefit just from having a little bit of helpful information put in front of them at just the right time. And so that's why I do these podcasts. I have been lucky enough to find a career where, it is, I think, a talent. It's my, personality and natural abilities. I think I am a good counselor and coach. And also it's such a passion for me. I mean, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would still be here doing this podcast for you guys, probably still seeing clients, because I really genuinely love it. And it makes me feel good and like I'm doing something good with my life to be able to help people that I will never even meet. And so that is what we're doing here on the podcast. And so thank you for being here and for participating in this with me. Thank you for coming here to learn and to grow. And thank you too, for helping other people maybe find this podcast. If you have a friend or family member who's been feeling stuck or struggling, I hope that you email them some of these podcasts. And it would be so helpful to people that you will never even meet if you were to leave a review of the podcast on iTunes or Stitcher, wherever you hear this, because your doing so helps other people find the show. And that's it. I mean, that's how the show gets around, is by word of mouth. We don't do any advertising. We don't take any advertising. I have people ask if they can advertise on this podcast, and I say no, because that's not what this is about. This isn't a mercenary thing. This is a labor of love. And so thank you. Thank you for letting me give this to you. And thank you for possibly giving this to somebody else. So we're all in this together, people. Anyway, so that is a little bit about me and what I'm doing here, and also hopefully setting the stage for how I can presume to speak so knowledgeably about how you might accidentally be sabotaging your success in this coming year without really knowing even why. Because so many people this time of year, they do have these high hopes for themselves and this enthusiasm, and that's so beautiful. And they go into it and they're thinking, this is going to be the year. And as you know, if you've, been on this planet for more than about 10 years, is that actually accomplishing things and actualizing real and lasting change is a lot harder than intending to. And what I think is so terrible, as a therapist, as a coach, I so often encounter people who it really it starts to take a toll on their self-esteem when they feel like they've been trying to make changes and they can't. They feel like crap about themselves, and they feel like they are doing something wrong, and they will be terribly critical of themselves, and they'll say it's because I'm not motivated, or I'm not determined, or I don't have the willpower, and I have to work really hard to help them understand what I'm going to be teaching you today, which is that it isn't like a character flaw because you have failed at achieving some of your goals in the past. It's really, I think, because people don't have the specific tools and also systems to help them stay on track, because without knowing what the keys to true change really are, there's almost like nothing for the goals, the intentions to stick to and be supported by. And then that's why they fail. And, this is supported by research. I mean, there's economists and other analysts that track this sort of thing on, a large scale, is, that many people are all gung-ho and hitting the gym, and, the beginning of January, that's like what this huge burst of gym memberships are. Also for online dating, as if you've listened to the show before, you may have heard me talk about, it's this time of year that all these people are flooding into, online dating sites, hopeful that they'll meet someone. And, within a few weeks, oftentimes people are already feeling very frustrated by themselves. And many have abandoned their goals altogether by mid-February is what the data shows. So that's just 6 weeks. And again, I don't want that to happen to you. So that's why on today's show, I'm going to be giving you the real scoop on 6 core practices that you absolutely must incorporate if you're going to make things happen for yourself. And I'm also going to be giving you a couple little tips on some tools that we often recommend to our clients that will help you get that measurable traction on your self-improvement goals. So first of all, before you do anything, if you haven't yet, and if you want to really do something this year, I would recommend that you go back and listen to the podcast that I released. I think it was in December. I kind of wanted to get a leg up on this, but it's called New Year, New You, and it's basically a mini coaching session that I walk you through. There's actually a worksheet that you can download to follow along. And what it does, what the intention of it is to really help you get in touch with what is really important to you. What are your core values? What are the things that are really most important to your life? And I wanted to bring this up because this is actually one of the things that will always sabotage people, is if they are setting goals that, this will sound weird to say, but that they are not personally invested in, that they're trying to do things that they think they should be doing, but that they are not actually personally important to them. And so when they're chasing after goals that are disconnected from who they are and, what their emotional guidance system is telling them is important to them, the goals will never work because again, there's just not this core attachment to even achieving the goals, that it's kind of externally motivated. So that is my very first tip. If you haven't already, go back and listen to that podcast and do the exercises, because it'll really help you get not just a review of this past year, but really just get into contact with what is important to you and what is genuinely meaningful, because building on those parts of your life will always be more successful than if you're doing things that you think you should do, that you shouldn't really do. Okay, so that's tip number 1. But secondly, the next thing that will invariably sabotage people's goals is if they don't get really, really specific about not just what they want. I mean, that's that kind of step 1, getting in touch with your values and figuring out what's important to you and what you really want specifically, right? But getting very specific about how you are actually going to accomplish your goals. I would say that a solid 50% of the failure that people encounter when they're trying to make these major life changes, they're saying, I want to be healthier, I want to lose weight, I want to improve my finances, I want to have a better relationship or more friends, whatever. But they don't identify the specific vehicle for change. So all right, so you want to improve your finances and you have a goal, okay? You want to get out of debt, maybe say that is the goal that you've identified. And, we're also familiar with SMART goals. I mean, and getting out of debt by a certain time, that is a good SMART goal. It's measurable, it's specific, it's, time limited, it has all that stuff. But it doesn't say how you're actually going to do that. And without having an actual process in place of, if I'm going to get out of debt by this time next year, I need to be setting up a budget and living by a budget that has, $500 or whatever the amount is that is going towards this old credit card every month. That is actually the vehicle of change. Or if you want to lose weight, you can have a SMART goal there that I want to lose, 40 pounds by September or whatever it is. But how? And, with weight loss, it is that it's a math problem, just like a money problem is honestly most often a math problem. Not that it doesn't have emotional components, certainly, but if you want to lose weight, you need to eat less calories than you burn. That's what happens. And so then the vehicle of change is that I need to set up a fitness tracker that's logging, my food and how much I have coming in and how much I have going out. And if I'm able to maintain this over time, then I will lose weight. And so those are kind of the easy ones even, but sometimes people have even more vague goals, like I want to feel happy. Okay, that is great. And they might even have it being, specifically as much as you can quantify that sort of thing around timelines and so forth. But what is actually the vehicle of change? For some people, it is getting involved in therapy and going and talking to somebody once a week, or, reading a book that could help them, or working through a program like our online happiness class. And it is turning it into what are the daily activities and identifying that what do I need to do on a day-to-day basis? Because without identifying what the action steps are, you'll always just churn. And that's true too for if you wanted to improve your relationship. Great, that's wonderful. But how? How do you actually improve a relationship? What do you need to be doing? What do you need to be doing every day in order to have a better relationship with your partner? Is it managing your feelings in a different way so you're not snappy and irritable when they try to talk to you? Is it listening wholeheartedly and just staying calm and being able to be a good friend? Having sex, okay? So when is that going to happen, and what all needs to be involved for that to happen? And really getting down into the kind of a granular level of the what's in the hows, So that is the second thing that will always mess you up if you don't have it, is getting really specific about what you need to be doing day to day. And then the third thing that will sabotage your success, unless it's a conscious awareness in your mind as you're getting ready to make changes, is this idea, and this is going to sound weird, okay, because this is a little bit counterintuitive, but is really fully committing to change. And it probably, like right now, it feels like, well, of course I want to change. I have these goals. I've made these resolutions. These things are important to me. They're connected to my values. I know all this. And also is that there is often, and again, this is just something that I've learned of, decade of being a coach and a counselor, is that even though people can get attached to their goals and feel excited about achieving their goals and feel very sort of motivated, they also on a subconscious level have this core belief that what they need to do to achieve their goals is time limited. It is temporary. It is like these difficult things that are going to require heroic effort, and then that those will be abandoned once the goals are met. And this is a primary unconscious mistake, because when you're working on making major changes in your life to the things that are most important to you, like your relationships, your health, your finances, your career, you don't ever really arrive in the sense that you get to eventually stop. So yes, you make changes and you achieve specific goals, but unless you're committed to making those changes necessary to achieve those goals, permanent lifestyle changes, first of all, honestly, you'll never get there. If you have like this sprinting kind of mindset, it will be so hard and miserable, and you'll burn out and not feel like doing it anymore. And so that will lead to failure. Or even if you do attain whatever it is that you want to attain, once you stop with the lifestyle changes that got you there in the first place, it all falls away. So like, how many stories have you heard about people who lost tons of weight on The Biggest Loser or whatever, and then they gained it all back? Or people who won millions of dollars in the lottery only to be destitute within a few years because they've blown it all? Or think about improving your relationship. Yes, you can make your relationship amazing. You can get your spouse to love you and trust you, but then you can't do that and say, oh, okay, so we're good now, right? So I'm going to go back to drinking too much and watching porn at night instead of going to bed with you and being snappy and defensive whenever you try to talk to me about it now. Okay? You can't do that and not have it really pretty immediately slide back down into what it had been. Is that these need to be sustainable and just changes that aren't even changes. They're just you incorporate them into your life. And so real change, it's not a sprint. And honestly, unlike the analogy that I have heard many life coaches use, it's not a marathon either. It is deciding to change course. It's like, I've been heading north, I'm going to go east now, and just going in a different direction. And you're walking, it's day by day, step by step, but it is just this commitment to this is the destination that I have been walking towards, and I want to go to this destination. So I just need to be walking in a different direction now for always if I want to have a happier, healthier life or a better relationship. And so it's really that kind of commitment that surprises people sometimes, because again, if there's a temporary mindset about it, or this idea that, someday their life will go back to quote normal, that one is going to mess you up. So that's something to think about. And so then in that, as you may be feeling even as I'm talking about this, you're sort of, intuiting the fourth step that most people never even know is a thing, much less do it. And that is changing your relationship with the old way of being. If it was starting to make you feel a little bit stressy and tense when I was talking about the level of commitment that is required to really change things and have that change stick, there is this emotional attachment to the way that your life has been and the old sets of behaviors that were carrying you in a direction that you didn't really want to go in ultimately. However, there's probably an attachment to the vehicle that was creating the outcome that you didn't want. I know that sounds kind of weird, but really, people have oftentimes no idea that in order to make real and lasting change, they need to really come to love and appreciate the vehicles of change, the hows, the nuts and bolts, day-to-day activities that will lead them to the place that they really want to go. And again, if you don't learn how to do this, it's going to mess you up every single time if you don't break these old attachments to the old behaviors. So let's going back to the weight example, which is it's an easy one, and you could apply this to anything, okay, your career, whatever. But say somebody's really wanting to lose weight and be healthier, and they have those specific goals. I want to lose this amount of weight. I want to drop my blood pressure. I want to be able to run a mile. Okay, actionable goals. But they are still deeply attached to the experience of sleeping in instead of exercising, or, laying down on the couch for 7 hours on the weekends and not doing anything, or consuming lots of sweet things or fast food. They kind of love these comfy, yummy experiences that they're having that are leading them to this uncomfortable, ultimately outcome. And in addition to that, they do not love the lean protein and vegetables that they need to eat in order to lose weight. They don't love needing to, monitor their food intake and say like, no, I probably shouldn't have a second slice of pizza because, I'm really trying to stay on track here. And they don't love to exercise. They don't love it. And so even though they can participate in that vehicle of change, particularly in the exciting days of early January, they're white knuckling it the whole time. And as they are, engaging in the vehicle of change and they're doing what they need to be doing, they're kind of fantasizing about all of the wonderful, delicious things they're missing and feeling sad and sorry for themselves. Not even on a conscious level, on a subconscious level. And they don't understand that they actually need to reprogram their emotional attachment to the things that are ultimately destroying their health and be able to associate negative, bad feelings with the things that are harming them and positive, satisfying feelings with the things that haven't been intrinsically satisfying, but that will lead them to a better place. And now, while the nuts and bolts of how to do that is obviously beyond the scope of a podcast, there are ways of learning how to do this. It's something that we dive very deeply into in the happiness class. There are books written on this subject. You go check out some of the things that Tony Robbins has written. And it really, in a nutshell, it involves learning how to take care of yourself, learning how to love yourself, and ultimately learning how to develop different associations with the things that are healthy and good for you, and creating negative associations with disempowering, unhelpful things that are bad for you. And that is something that's easy for me to say. It takes work to change those associations and to rewire that. But if you're going to put your energy anywhere this year, I would recommend that is the place to go. Because if you are subconsciously still attached to the old way of being, you will always find ways to sabotage your success so that you can reunite with these comfy, yummy things that you love, even though intellectually you know that they're terrible for you. So anyway, I know that one goes a little bit deep, but I want you to just think about it because that one is a really, really big one. Okay. Now, the fifth key of really creating change is getting in control of your time. And I put this one on the list because the thing that will almost always derail even the best, most detailed, most achievable plans occurs when people don't get extremely serious about planning when they are going to do the things they need to do. So you have identified your vehicle, okay? You are going to keep your calories at, 1,500 calories a day or whatever, and you're going to do your meal tracker app thing. Okay, check. That is your vehicle. And you are going to be preparing food so that you can eat healthy all through the week. Got that set. But when are you going to go to the grocery store? When are you actually going to prepare these meals? When are you going to eat them? When are you going to be tracking your calories and your exercise? When are you going to be exercising? And it might, especially to people who tend to be a little bit more easygoing about this sort of thing, those kinds of questions can start to feel irritating. They're like, I'll do it. Don't lock me into a schedule. I'll do it. I have people get annoyed with me all the time when I start making a big deal about this in coaching sessions. But the truth is that these kinds of personal goals must have a place in your daily routine, and you must be setting boundaries around them and making them a part of your life so that they are happening regularly, and also so that you're protecting them from all of the things that will derail them. Because you will never find the time to do these kinds of things. Everything else happens. Somebody calls, you wind up going to the movies, it gets late, you don't feel like it, whatever. You have to make the time. And that means making changes to the routine that currently inherently does not support your goals. And to get really serious about time management, you need to have a basic sort of weekly routine where all of the things that are most important to you has their place in time. And then you can attach the vehicle to change the very specific granular things to that daily routine. So if you're going to exercise, when are you going to exercise? And when does that mean that you have to wake up? Or when does that mean that you have to leave work if you're an evening exerciser? And how are you going to set those boundaries around your time to make that happen, even if something comes up? Who do you have to say no to? Your boss, your kid, your spouse, yourself? But getting in control of your time is really about identifying that routine that has the spots for you to do all the things that are most important for you at consistent, regular times, because it's what we do every single day that creates the outcome of our lives. Doing something once in a while that does not get anybody traction, and it's very easy to fall away from things that you don't do consistently. But the other piece of getting in control of your time is learning how to set boundaries. And again, I can't tell you how many coaching sessions I've been in where people have actually gotten annoyed with me for harping on the whens. But I implore you, if you want to make things happen for yourself, committing to identifying specific days and times when things are going to happen and then following through. Like with couples, people say, well, we want to improve our relationship and we think that spending more time together will help us do that. And that's great. So when I'm in a marriage counseling session, I'm actually making people pull out a calendar and identify the day and time. When are you going to go on a date night every week? And then also, though, figuring out what else needs to happen in order to make those things happen. Like, when do you have to leave work in order to make that happen and not be completely wiped out by the time that you get home? And who is going to be watching the kids? And who is going to be making the call to arrange for that childcare? And when is that going to happen? And really getting super detailed, because without those kinds of plans, something will always come up, or there will be things that you haven't thought of, and your best intentions will get derailed. So if you want to really do things, get specific, pull out a calendar, set timers to help you stay on track. Whatever you need to do. And then lastly, the sixth thing that will always, 100% of the time, cause you to sabotage yourself is believing this primary fallacy of change, which I know intellectually you're probably like, but emotionally, people really struggle with this. And this is the belief that you have to feel like doing something in order to do it. People believe emotionally that they need to feel motivated in order to follow through, or that they should want to do whatever they have to do, or that they need to feel attracted to something in order to follow through with it. And this is absolutely not true. And believing this, even emotionally, will always mess you up. I would say that the majority of the time, especially in the beginning as you're making these changes before you've shifted that emotional attachment that we've talked about in step 4, before you've shifted that emotional attachment, you will probably most of the time not feel like doing the things that you know you need to do. It is much easier to stay on the couch and watch one more episode of whatever it is that you're watching than to get off your butt and go do the exercise video that you know you need to do, or to stay in bed and not get up and haul yourself to the gym or whatever, or not, get up 15 minutes earlier and pack your little healthy breakfast with your hard-boiled egg and all of that. It's really easy to not do that because you don't feel like doing it. And that is why it's so important to go back to that very first piece around, why am I doing this in the first place? Because day to day, you're not going to feel like doing it. And that's why we don't listen to our feelings in the moment when we have committed to making change. The only thing to do is to keep your eyes on the bigger picture and be checking in with the values the values around why is this meaningful? What do I want for my life? Where am I going? Why am I doing this? And be just looking away from the fact that it is annoying to get up and out of your nice warm bed and go pack yourself a granola, whatever. And instead of, just swinging past whatever and getting a latte and an 800-calorie bagel sandwich, it's annoying to have to do that. And it doesn't matter that it's annoying. And people get irritated with me when I say this too, because again, I think that they want to feel motivated, they want to feel excited, they want to feel positive about what they're doing. But if you believe that you need to feel that way in order to do what you have to do, you're not going to do it. And so, again, checking in with your values regularly and basically expecting to feel annoyed and irritated and that you're not really having that good of a time in the moment is, I think, a much better place to be that will help you kind of ironically and paradoxically achieve your goals if you don't have an expectation that this should be feeling sexy or fun, and that there should be intrinsic pleasure in doing the things that you should be doing. Just expect that you're not going to feel like that and that you need to do it anyway. So you're taking away that I don't feel like it excuse from yourself, because you shouldn't feel like it. Nobody feels like it. It's boring and it's hard and you'd rather be doing something else. And that's why most people don't. Most people are overweight. Most people don't attain amazing things in their career. Most people have mediocre relationships or, are dissatisfied with their life in some way because it is much easier to not do all of this stuff. And that is why I'm sharing this with you, so that you have this advantage, so that you know when it feels boring and hard and you'd rather be doing something else. You're like, yep. So, gonna do it anyway. It's okay. It is okay for you to not be comfortable in order to achieve these bigger order goals. And the way to get through this, and really, I think over time, what is also true that I see is that, people often have these experiences of like, in the, first few months. By the way, the whole 21-day thing is crap. It takes a lot longer than 21 days to really change these. But over time, and if you've been doing it consistently for months, it can change. But if you want to speed up that process, I would advise that you start taking a really hard look at the cognitions and the behavioral triggers that will lead you astray and how to deal with them when they come up. And again, that is beyond the scope of this podcast, to the hows of how to do that. But just know that as I teach in my happiness class and as we teach to all our clients, it's the foundation of cognitive behavioral therapy. Okay, it's the most well-researched, effective form of therapy there is, which is that the way that you think and the thoughts that you're harboring in your mind will always translate into the way that you feel. And so if you want to feel differently, you can tinker with your thoughts. And also the behaviors that you engage in can trigger more like positive behaviors, or they can trigger more negative behaviors. There are lots of books written on the subject of cognitive behavioral therapy. They're in any, bookstore, Amazon. Also in our happiness class, we teach these skills about how to understand the way that you're thinking and intentionally shift it so that you can feel differently, and also how to change habits on that more emotional level that we've been talking about a little bit today. So those are just some other resources for you. But again, when you're able to recognize these self-defeating, disempowering thoughts or old behaviors that are easy to get sucked into and will kind of just deflate your forward momentum, and how to replace them with new ways of thinking or different kinds of behavioral triggers that will help you make it feel easier to do what you need to do, those are the things that will help you stay on track. But in the meantime, just again, don't expect that you're going to want to feel like it, because that will always sabotage you. Okay, so these are the 6 big things that I have found over many years of counseling and coaching that will always get people off track, sabotage their success, and make them feel sad, because they're not achieving their goals. And I really hope that your learning about these today helps you stay on track and feel more positive and successful, and help you attain the things that are most important to you. So take it and run. And if this was helpful, share it with other people. And it would be, again, so meaningful if you would consider leaving a review at iTunes or on Stitcher, wherever you listen to this. And if you'd like more free advice or help with anything, come visit us at growingself.com to check out some of our classes, browse through other articles. We have a number of free online trainings on our website. They're all there for you. And I will be back in touch in a bit on the next episode of the Love, Happiness, and Success podcast. Bye-bye.
Let's go.